Hello, fellow light keepers. I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever noticed that just when you think you've healed, life seems to hand you another test? That's exactly what happened to me. I traveled to England expecting a peaceful horse retreat, but instead I found myself witnessing an accident, confronting old trauma stored in my nervous system, experiencing profound healing in Glastonbury, and then almost immediately receiving unexpected emails from my ex husband and his lawyer regarding our MSA, which had been finalized and complete 2 years ago. What unfolded taught me one of the greatest lessons of my life. Healing isn't about avoiding life's storms. Healing is remembering who you are while you're walking through them. If you've ever experienced trauma, divorce, illness, anxiety, or simply found yourself caught in fear, I hope this episode reminds you that there is another way. Before we begin, I'd like to dedicate this episode to two beautiful sisters I met unexpectedly over dinner in London tonight. Thank you for reminding me that our stories matter. We never know when sharing our truth may become hope for someone else. Why I came to England? Well, it wasn't simply a vacation, it was my own personal pilgrimage for my final step in healing. When I reached when I arrived at the horse retreat on the first day, we had a circle and we all shared our intention for the retreat. Mine was simple. I was going to be present and able to receive. I even shared within the group that one of the most powerful parts of healing is allowing ourselves to receive. At this time, I had no idea those two words would become the entire story of my journey. Well, the retreat wasn't quite what I had expected. Instead of peaceful riding on the first day of riding, a rider was seriously injured. The storm rolled in, and all of us at the retreat were in it. My nervous system shifted into survival. I was triggered by this accident from my own accident of 1999, where it was a serious trajectory for my life. I left wondering whether I had somehow missed what I'd come there to receive. But looking back, the retreat wasn't failing, it was revealing. My body remembered watching someone else's accident awaken something much older, my own accident. My body remembered and fear surfaced. It was deep. I felt vulnerable and I had a sense of rage because I didn't feel like she was being taken care of like she should have been. I felt vulnerable also because of my age, not because of anyone around me. Because trauma had been stored in my nervous system for years, my body wasn't overreacting. It was remembering. And here all along, I thought that I had addressed everything in all of the healing. I was so surprised how I was feeling. I kind of retracted a bit and I protected myself. And I was living a little bit in fear. Less than 2 days later, after the horse retreat, I arrived in Glastonbury. I had two treatments. One was craniosacral and the other was soul healing session. And we discovered in both that my nervous system had been frozen. During the craniosacral session, the right and the left side of my body weren't working together. They were not in sync. I released something that I had carried for years. For the first time in a very long time, I truly felt held. What I released was fear. And that fear was so deep. And it was a trajectory after that accident from 1999 that I felt smaller and I didn't feel like I could actually be living in my true, authentic self and be bold and be out there. Then life tested my healing. Yesterday, I received an email from my ex husband and today from his lawyer, and it was regarding a detail from my MSA, our marital agreement from over 2 years ago. Everything was all settled and set in stone. So again, my nervous system was being tested. And I felt so held and so loved and so healed from those two treatments in Glastonbury. And I almost lost that beautiful feeling of being held today after reading those emails. But this time something was different. Instead of reacting, I noticed my body and I noticed my nervous system. I chose regulation before reaction, and that is healing. So I've had some integration time in London. Instead of doing all of these wonderful, fun tourist, different landmarks to go visit, I chose to take care of my nervous system and have integration. I knew that I needed to just kind of go gentle. So instead of rushing through London, I slowed down. I got a blueberry balance bowl and a decaf latte. I walked around. got a lot of steps in, got some fresh fruit, water, and I did a beautiful walk to Hyde Park. I sat behind I sat beside the serpentine where the water is, and I listened to the recording from the session with one of the healers. And just to basically listen and to get clear again of that healing. And it was so beautiful. I watched the birds, I listened to the birds, I watched the water. I did a little bit of journaling, and I just kind of really listened to my nervous system from being so set on fire again and tested again today. One sentence rose above anything else, and this was the theme of my entire trip, which is don't get caught up in fear. I'm protected and I'm safe. And that was just today's message. And like I said, it was for my entire trip. The horse accident, the storm, the healing, the emails. Healing doesn't stop life from happening. Healing changes how we move through life. Fear may knock on your door, but it no longer becomes my home. I know how to protect myself. I know that I'm safe and taken care of. Later that afternoon or today, I went into the little restaurant there near the water, and I ordered a veggie bowl and iced matcha. After placing my order, receiving my food, I was standing there looking for a table, and I noticed the wallpaper birds. The wallpaper was full of birds, and there were these big, large owls in the wallpaper just directly looking at me. Birds had appeared throughout my trip in Foy, in Glastonbury, at the hospital after my accident 2 weeks before my trip, and now once again in London. So, whether someone sees symbolism, synchronicity, or simply beauty, they reminded me to keep looking toward wonder instead of fear. This evening after dinner in London, like I said, I met those two beautiful sisters. They had asked why I was in London, so I simply told them the truth, why I came. It was my personal pilgrimage, and I told them about what had happened at the retreat, and mostly the healing in Glastonbury, and how my ex husband's email and lawyer unexpectedly tested everything I had just experienced. And one of the sisters shared some personal stuff, and they were so grateful for my story. And they were so grateful that we met, as was I. But the beautiful thing is, again, like I said, is it's so important to share our stories and to be vulnerable and to be real and to be honest because you never really know who you're going to help. And that's really where the healing is. Here I am going by myself in London to dinner, and I'm sitting at the bar and I'm like, another evening by myself, but that's okay. This is part of it. These two lovely ladies sit next to me. I compliment one of them. Her dress was just perfect, bright pink and orange, my favorite colors. And then we just kind of start talking. And then at the end, the healing actually helped them. everything becomes full circle. At the beginning of my trip, my intention was simply to receive. And tonight, sitting in a restaurant in London, talking with these two beautiful ladies, I received something. I came to England believing I was here to receive, and I did, but I wasn't meant to keep it. Healing has a beautiful way of doing that. When we truly receive healing, it naturally flows through us. Perhaps the greatest gift I received wasn't certainty. It was becoming someone whose story could offer hope to another human being. Maybe that was the real purpose of my entire journey. If you're walking through your own storm today, please remember this. Healing doesn't mean life stops testing you. Healing means fear no longer gets to make your decisions. I love that so much. Fear may knock on your door, but it doesn't have to become your home. Today, my prayer for you is the same message that followed me across England. Don't get caught up in fear. You are protected and you are safe. And if this journey has reminded you of anything, I hope it reminds you that your story matters. Because one day, without even realizing it, the healing you fought so hard to receive may become the very hope someone else has been praying to find. Until next time, keep following the light. Make it a beautiful day.